Welcome to our channel, where we bring you stories of the world's most gruesome and shocking crime cases. Today's story is about an incident that shook the entire United Kingdom. This is the case of Suzanne Capper. It is a story of a quiet, friendless girl who clung to the few relationships she made, despite enduring violent and horrific behavior. This is one of the most brutal murder cases in British history. Suzanne Capper was a 16-year-old innocent girl living an ordinary life with her family. She and her sister Michelle never met their biological father. According to reports, Suzanne Capper was raised by her mother, Elizabeth Dunbar, and her stepfather, John Capper. However, when Suzanne was only 14 years old, her parents completely separated, which proved to be a painful experience for the entire family. Due to her parents' separation, Suzanne and Michelle had to live either with their mother, their father, or spend time with friends and relatives. This instability caused Suzanne to fight with her mother and move to her friend Jean Powell's house. Suzanne met Jean Powell through Jean's younger brother, Clifford Pook. Jean Powell was 10 years older than Suzanne, and her house was not far from Suzanne's. Jean Powell made Suzanne take care of her children in exchange for allowing her to stay at her house, and Jean even stopped Suzanne from going to school. Suzanne had several friends besides Jean. As time passed, Suzanne spent almost all her time with Jean and her friends, including Jean Powell and Bernadette McNeely. Bernadette McNeely was Jean Powell's neighbor who lived a bit further down the street. At Jean Powell's house, Jean's 29-year-old husband, Glyn Powell, 26-year-old drug addict Jeffrey Lee, and, of course, Clifford Pook, often visited. Jean Powell's house was involved in some illegal activities, such as weighing amphetamines, selling stolen goods, and had become a brothel. A 16-year-old boy named Anthony Dudson, who knew everything happening at Jean Powell's house, took advantage of the situation and forced himself on Jean McNeely and Suzanne Capper. Everyone living in that house was going through a tough time. One day, Jean Powell and Suzanne had an argument. In a fit of rage, Jean Powell and her friends kidnapped Suzanne and held her hostage at Jean Powell's house. She was kept captive for weeks, subjected not only to mental, but also to physical torture. These tortures were so gruesome that it would send chills down anyone's spine. After some time, Suzanne tried to tell the neighbors about it, but no one believed her. Gradually, minor fights escalated, leading Jean to despise Suzanne even more. So, on the night of December 7th, 1992, something happened that would send shivers down your spine. Suzanne Capper was lured to Powell's house, where everyone present, including Jean Powell, Anthony Dudson, Glyn Powell, and Bernadette McNeely, was high on amphetamines and unaware of their actions. They chained Suzanne with iron chains, starved her, and burned her with lit cigarettes. Her head was shaved, and she was forced to listen to loud music, and no one heard her screams. Eventually, in December 1992, Suzanne was deceitfully taken to the forest in a car and set on fire after being doused with petrol. Despite her screams, no one came to her aid. Yet, Suzanne showed courage and managed to crawl to the side of the road before collapsing. A car passing by saw Suzanne in this condition, stopped, and took her to the hospital. But it was too late. Suzanne's entire body was almost burnt, and a few days later, she succumbed to her injuries in the hospital. The police began investigating the case and soon arrested Jean Powell, Bernadette McNeely, and their accomplices. The court handed down severe punishments to the perpetrators of this horrific murder case. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to subscribe.